Hello, and thank you for watching the upcoming video on Valeo's data verification tools. ASIware highly recommends that you run these tools before you do any end-of-month processing on invoicing and payments to foster homes if you're a foster care agency, or even if you do twice a month. Any time that you're going to create invoice reports or payments, we recommend you run these tools. So again, I think you'll find this video very beneficial in verifying your data before you run those tools. We're going to be looking at three things during the video. We're going to be looking at the billing comparison tool. This tool will help you find problems with the following data: if there's level of care problems, if there's invoicing problems, or if there are home payment problems. Any problems in these areas will show up pretty blatantly on the report. So we'll look at those. And there's actually links built into this report that you can go fix these problems fairly easily. The next thing we'll look at is the agency rate breakdown tool. Now, presently, this tool only works with daily rates. It does not touch monthly rates. So, and then the last tool we're going to look at is the special payment edit tool. This tool will allow you to pull the special payments for the period to one screen where you can review them before processing financials. You can also put the results of this tool into a spreadsheet if you want to be able to, if you want to analyze the data more in a spreadsheet than on screen. So, so that's what this video is about today. So let's go ahead and get back to the system. Now, all three of the things I'm going to show you, you can run from the accounting homepage. To get to the accounting homepage, go to the administrative menu, come down here to the billing uh, option. It'll pull up the billing sub menu, and right at the top is a link called accounting homepage. So when you click on that, there's a page that comes up just like this. Now, the three things we're going to look at are in these first two bars. The billing comparison tool and the agency rate breakdown is under report tools. So if you expand that out, you can see agency rate breakdown, and right underneath it is billing comparison. If you want to collapse that back up, just click over here or click anywhere to expand and collapse it. Then, so we'll start there, look at those two reports, and then when we're done, we're going to actually come in here and look at the special payment edit screen. So let's go ahead and get started with the billing comparison. I recommend you do the billing comparison first, because if you do this first, you're going to find problems that will reduce problems that this report will find. So let's go ahead and run the billing comparison. So we're going to pretend that we're getting ready to invoice for the month of October of 2019. So I'm going to set in my date range here. All right. And I'm going to do this for my default branch, which is Dayton. Okay. And I'm doing it for foster care. This also works for any type of invoicing on residential and services. It does not do hourly invoicing. Okay, so it's all per diem or monthly rate stuff. So any one of these three programs will work. If you want to do it one payer at a time, then you can pick the payer that you want to look at. Okay. In your branch office drop down, you can do all branches, or you can do one state at a time or a branch at a time. So let's go ahead, um, get ready to hit search. One last thing, and I'm not going to do this part. If I want to pull this data into a spreadsheet, then I can click this button. I'll go ahead and click it, but we're not going to open the spreadsheets. And I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And then if you look, you're going to see buttons for the spreadsheets. So right down here, you can pull all this data into a single spreadsheet and analyze it more thoroughly in a spreadsheet. So now I've ran the report for October. I ran it for the Dayton branch. I did it for foster care. Now, what is the report showing me? All right. So this report really looks at quite a few areas in regards to placements. It's going to look at placement record, Placement record is just this client was in this home during this date range. All right. It's also, and that's this first column here would be the placement record. Okay. Now we don't show you the home here. You'll see the home here, but in that record, there's a home ID which is associated to this home. So the next section of this report is foster home payments. So when you place a kid in a placement, whether it be foster care, whether it's residential, well, residential, there's no foster home payments. In services, there's no foster home payments. Uh, but anyhow, the second section is foster home payments. Now, this client is Hank Arrow. If you notice, that's a link. I could click on that and go to his complete history page. The next section of this report is agency billing. Okay. Now, agency billing, when you place a kid in any of these programs, then you're setting up an invoice record. All right. Even if you don't invoice on our system, there is an invoice record created. All right. So, and again, those are all three programs. And then the last section of this report is level of care. Now, before we start analyzing the data, I want to go ahead and run this for residential real fast. Right now in residential, you don't have any foster homes, so this column is not going to show you anything. This big column header, there's sub columns within it, but it's not going to show you anything because you don't pay homes. And the same way with services, if you run it for services, that column is going to be blank also. And when we do our data analytics, we will ignore these sets of sub columns under this big column header of foster home payments when you do service or residential. So let me go back to foster care and pull that back up. Now, everything I'm going to show you from here forward works the same way, right? Whether you're foster care, residential, or services. So I ran the report. Now, what we do, we analyze these four sections, right? If we see something um, that we think is a mistake, then we'll highlight things red. Okay. Now I went through and created a bunch of mistakes just to show you some of the stuff this report tool can help you find. Okay. So the idea is you don't have to necessarily study everything. Don't worry about the rates here. I mean, if you want to take the time to look at them here, you can do that. The next report I show you is going to do that for you in a much simpler way. So, so again, we're going to look at the four columns, and if we see something that, you know, typically means there's a mistake, then we highlight that thing red. Okay. Now, I said this already. I want to repeat it one more time. I went through a bunch of kids and made a bunch of stuff red, so I can show you all the different stuff that it's finding. Right. And the idea is don't study on the individual data, just look for red. Okay. If you see red, it could be typically 90% of the time it means there's a problem. There can be circumstances where something's red and it's fine, it's not a problem. For instance, if this kid is placed in the Dayton branch in October, but October 5th to the 10th he does a respite in the Columbus branch, then the total days of care are not going to match for Dayton. Okay, so some things will be red if they did a respite in another branch, but you'll see that real easy just by clicking on the kid's name. What will happen? His complete history page is going to open up, and you'll see that he's placed in the Dayton branch, and then you would see a respite. You know, the respites are highlighted yellow in the Columbus branch, so immediately you know that is not a problem. That you can skip that one. So that's kind of a general overview. Now we're going to kind of get into some of the nuts and bolts of this report. So let's look at this first red kid. It's Frank Barber. And the section that is highlighted red is the level of care. And it's saying that he only has 27 days of care at the treatment level, but yet we're invoicing for 31 days. We're paying a home for 31 days. And his placement record says he's been in care for 31 days. Okay, now this treatment record for level care started on October 5th, so we're missing 4 days. All right, you can see that because this is 27, that's 31. So right from the screen, you kind of know what's wrong. Okay, there is a missing level care record for the first 4 days of October. All right, so let's go ahead and click on his name, and again we open up the complete history page, and then we can look. So here we have the level care history. right? So from January 11th of 2019 till February 12th, he was a basic. Then on February 25th till October 1st, he was a basic. And then on October 5th, he became treatment. Well, we have a 4 day gap here. So one of a couple things are wrong. Either this date's wrong or that date's wrong. All right. Um, so once you figure out what that problem is, then you can just come right down here. You want to make sure you get the right placement. Right. Click on the payment screen, and you can come in here and fix it. For this example, we're going to pretend that his actual basic level care ended on the 5th. Okay, his new treatment level started on the 5th. This end date and the next start date should be the same. There shouldn't be gaps. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that level of care end date. If I come back here now, it's not going to show you the change until you refresh this page. So I hit my right mouse button. It pops up this one. I'm going to hit refresh. And now you can see this change reflected here. So now when we go back to the report, he's still going to be showing red, okay, until you rerun that report. Okay, so now if you look, Frank Barber, his days of care at treatment are 31 days. His home payment or invoice payments are 31 days. His home payments are 31 days, and his placement payments are 31 days. So we just fixed Frank. Now the next kid is Grant Belfour. Again, the level of care is red. It says 62 days. Now this is interesting. It says he has two different level of cares at the same time. He says zero and a basic. So it duplicated the whole month because both of these are active in the month of October. So if we click on his name, you clearly see what's going on with this one. So let's scroll down here. He's only had one placement. That started on 8/1. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pretend that the zero should not be there and that the basic should start on 8/1. So let me go ahead and click on the payment screen. I said what I'm going to pretend is that the zero should not be there. So I'm going to delete that one. And then this one should have started on 8/1 of 2019. That's when his placement started. So let's go ahead and update that. We can close that now. Again, if we refresh this, now we're going to see on 8/1 of 2019, he became a basic kid. He's been that for 68 days. He was placed on 8/1. His home payment started on 8/1, and his invoice records started on 8/1. So now if we come back here and if we hit this search again, you're going to see that Frank Barber is now clean, or Grant Belfour is now cleaned up. Okay, now I'm going to quit hitting this search every time. We're just going to go through and fix two or three at a time, and then we'll re-hit the search. So we got those first couple fixed. Now we're scrolling down. Oh, we found another one. It's George Bent. Again, it's in the level of care. George does not have any level care set up at all. All right, it's blank. There's nothing there. So let's go ahead and click on George. Now this one we want to look at the placement record. All right, so we come here. He did respite only placement. Then he was placed on 9/1 of 2014 till 9/10, but they discharged him. Right, he had all these respites in that short period of time. Then on 2015 he came back to you, and this is his current placement. Okay, now for the sake of simplicity, well, no, yeah, no, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to pretend he only had one level of care during this time. Now, if you want to save yourself some typing and some memory stuff, if you just copy this date, that's the date he was put in care on his current placement. Click on payment, and make sure you click on the right payment button. Okay, you definitely want to make sure you click on the right payment button. So now these two level cares, uh, well, this one was for that first placement cycle. This one actually is for the current placement cycle. There's that placement date of 1/8 of 2015, but it ended on 7/14 of 2016. Now, if he still is an MWO, was always an MWO, the easy way to fix that is just delete that, hit update, and you're good. I don't want to do that. We're going to pretend that is NWO change. So let me refresh that, get that date back here. Excuse me. And we're going to say he became an NWO waiver, and we'll just pick a date like of 7/25/2018 is when he became a waiver kid. Hit that. So now we have an active level care record because there's no end date. So now if we close this, refresh his history page, and there's that new level care. Okay, so that took care of George. All right, so those were the examples I wanted to show you in the level care column. The next thing we're going to be focusing on, again, if I hit that search button, let me go ahead and hit it while I talk about this. So now George's level care is correct. Now the next thing we're going to focus on is this invoice part. All right, we're going to be looking strictly at this column here uh, for the next four kids. So the next kid is Leroy Browner. Again, he's been here the whole month of October, 31 days for home payments, 31 days of placement records. He's been a level two, a level care of 2 for 31 days. But then we look at his home payments, and it only says we're paying a home for 28 days. All right. So if we look at this, or invoicing, I'm sorry, not home payment, we're looking at invoicing. We're only invoicing for 28 days. All right. Well, it says level care 31 days, home payments 31 days, placement 31 days. Why are we only invoicing for 28 days? Well, you can kind of figure it out looking at this screen. So from 7/1 of 2019 till 10/2, you're invoicing 82.94 to this pair. Now, typically, what you'll see is one of these are going to be different between these two sets of records. On my example here, they're the same. But that original invoice ended on 10/2. The new one didn't start till 10/5. So you got to ask yourself, is there a legitimate reason for a break in there? If there was, then what should happen is if for those 3 days you weren't invoicing, we should see another record here starting on 10/2 and then on 10/5 with a zero rate. Okay, so that would cover those 3 days that you didn't invoice for. So now, for this example, we're going to pretend that when somebody put in this change, they just had a typo on one of these dates. So let's go ahead and click on Leroy. All right, come make sure you get to the right placement. All right, you can't come here and hit this payment button or go up here. You got to be in the right placement. Okay, so we're looking at the month of October of 2019. So it's definitely this one. All right, this one ended before October of 2019, and that one ended before October 2019, so on and so forth. So we click on the payment button, which takes us to the payment screen. Now we're looking at agency invoice records. All right, so we don't have to worry about level of care. So let's scroll down here till we see agency billing records. Agency invoice and agency billing is the same thing. All right, so here we have that problem. All right, so we're cruising along from July 1st till October 2nd, invoicing this amount. I think this example is he used to be a monthly rate and then he went to a daily rate. So now the problem though is that gap, right? So we're just going to pretend that this should have been October 2nd when somebody split this record up here. They put 10/2 as the end date and then 10/5 by mistake for the new start date. So once you fix that, come right here. Again, I changed this from 10/5 to 10/2. Hit save that payment record. And it's going to ask you, is level care okay? And if it is, if this had nothing to do with level of care, then you just hit OK. Okay. Now it's going to leave you here, and then if there was something wrong with the level of care, you can just fix it after you save that change. Okay. Now if we refresh this complete history page, we're going to see those dates are the same. So now when I hit that search button the next time, Leroy will show 31 days here, and that will be a wash. He won't be red. Let's pretend, actually though, let's go, no, I don't want to do that. So let's go on down. We're going to scroll to the next kid. So this is Charlie Brown Nose. And again, his invoice column is red. It says 60 days. How can you invoice for 60 days in a 31-day month, right? I think people go to jail for that. But You'll see 31 days in the placement section, 31 days in the home payment section, 31 days in the level of care, and 60 days in invoicing. So now again, if you just study this information, you already can see what the problem is. So starting on 7/3 of 2019, you started this invoice record. Then you started another invoice record on 10/3 of 2019. Okay, and that's what this one is. So both of these are active in the month of October of this year, 2019. So 29 days here, 31 days there. So let's go ahead and click on Charlie's complete history link. Make sure we get to the right placement cycle. So I need to scroll all the way down here. Again, this is the one I'm looking for. And we see the problem here right on this complete history screen in the invoice section. You have this problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on payment. And what I'm going to pretend is somebody just duplicated this record for some reason. Don't know why. People do things and sometimes they don't mean to. So I'm going to delete that second record. Now we have 7/3/2019, 7/3/2019, 7/3/2019. In level care, we should have some that covers 7/3 of 2019, which this record here covers 7/3 of 2019. Okay, so when we're done with that, we can close that. We can refresh this, and you'll see that now there's only one invoice record. So now that's the second one we fixed on this page. So let's go ahead and run it, rerun our search so that we see that Leroy and Charlie are now fixed. There's Leroy, there's Charlie, no red, so we're good. So what's our next problem? Next problem is again is in the invoice column. This one says 0 days. Now, why does that say zero? Or, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're under Bugs Bunny, not Brutus. So here it says 0 days for Bugs Bunny, 31 days in the placement record, 31 days in home payments, 31 days in level of care, but zero in invoice records. Well, that should tell you right away there's not even an invoice record set up for this particular kid. So let me go ahead and click on him and make sure we get in the right record. So here we are, and if you look, there's only a home payment information. There's no invoice information. So let's go ahead and click on payment. Come down to the billing agency billing section. If you look, there's no record here, but we have this link, insert a new payment record. Now, you need to know what the placement date is. So here's the placement date. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the clipboard, or you just remember it. And I'm going to insert a new payment record. I'm going to find his payer, and we'll pretend this is the Foster Care Super Agency Kentucky style. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to I think this is 150. Put that date in there. Come down, hit save. So now if we scroll back down to his payment record, here is the agency billing record now. So now there's one showing. If I come back here and refresh this complete history page, here's the invoice information that we just entered. Let me close that. And if I go up and hit that search button, then that will disappear. Let's go ahead and do that. I think we really need to hit the search every time we do this, actually. So here's Bugs now. Notice how it's gotten a little bigger because that big agency name. But now we have 31 days of invoice records. Okay, the next one is still an invoice problem. This is Jared Bruner, and it says 30 up here. Now this can confuse you a little bit when you first see it. Notice up here for the actual record it says 31 days, but in the total it says 0. There's a reason for that. If you put a 0 rate on a record, we don't count the days because you're not invoicing anything. All right, we're trying to show you kids that you're not getting paid right, or that you're not getting paid at all. So if there's a 0 in this column, we will zero out the total column. All right, so to fix this one, we just click on Jared's name. Right, get down to the right record, hit the payment screen, come down to the agency billing section, and there's that daily rate of 0. Okay, so now this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm trying to put some numbers so that when I go look at the agency rate breakdown, it can help me demo that to you. So I went ahead and put a rate in there. So now it's not zero. So if I close that, refresh this, we will see a non-zero rate right there. See, there's that 75 now. So if I close this, if I rerun this report, now we have uh, Jared fixed up too. All right, so all the invoice stuff is fixed. Now the next five are about home payments. Right. So first one we're going to look at is Tom Chansey. Again, it says 31 days in the placement record, 31 days in the invoice record, 31 days in the level of care, but the home payments are only saying 28. So let's go take a look at Tom. All right. Again, make sure you scroll to the right placement cycle. Here's the right placement cycle. Uh, let's go ahead and hit the payment screen. And here we have a problem. All right. So we're cruising along till October 2nd. It says it ended due to a rate change. The new one started on October 5th. All right. Now we're going to pretend that never should have been done at all. All right. So we're going to get rid of this bottom one that was added for the rate change because there was no rate change. So now we're back to one record. And what we're going to do is we're going to take out that end date. We're going to hit save the payment record. And now we fix that one. Okay. So now if we come back here, refresh this, it looks fine. Again, this was Tom Chansey. So now if I reran that report now, this one, let's just go ahead and do it. Come back down to Tom Chansey, and he should be fine now. 31 days, 31 days, 31 days, 31 days. Okay, the next kid, is Tom Cruiser. Now you don't even have to look at these other three columns. You're trying to pay for Tom, the Luke Groundwalker home, 39 days for the 31-day month. Now why is that? Well, you had this first payment at $90 that ended on 10/10. The next one started on 10/2. All right. So let's go ahead. These should not be that way. You have an overlap of 8 days. So let's click on Tom's name. Get down to the right placement cycle. Again, here's, when you're looking for the right placement cycle, you're looking at this part of the screen, not these. You would look at that. Okay, so come down here to the right placement cycle, hit payment. Let's go look at this payment record for the home. 10/2. We're going to just pretend that this should have been 10/2 also. Now let's hit the calendar. You can use the calendar if you like. Typically, you're going to see something change here, either the home or the rate. I'm just going to leave them the same. Hit OK, and now we fix Tom. So if we refresh this, it would look correct now. And if we close that, rerun our report. Now you don't have to keep scrolling up to search either. Okay. And I'll show you how not to have to scroll up to search here in a second to refresh this page. But now if you look, Tom Cruiser is fixed. So now, Bob Dill. This should be very obvious. There is not even a home payment record there. Okay. So that's the problem on Bob. So click on his name. Make sure you're in the right placement cycle. This one only has one. The home is Holly Gennaro and John McMillan. So again, click on the payment screen. What is 103? All right. We're going to come in here. We're going to you're going to do whatever's wrong. You're going to fix whatever's wrong. This could be a couple things, right? The current record is started on 5/4. This one ended on 5/4. The current record is started on 5/4 has been deleted. or this was put in there by mistake. Okay, we're going to pretend that was put in there by mistake. All right. Now, if it was the other way around, then you just fix this start date. On this, or if it's okay. Yeah. Let me do the other way. Oh, wrong button. Let me refresh this. If the other record was deleted, then you're going to use the split tool. Okay. So here's the one that stopped. So this one you're going to want to start on 5/4/2017, and then this should not have an end date, and this should say current. Okay, so let's do it that way. So now, what caused that problem in the first place? Somehow somebody came in here and deleted this record. Okay, so that's what I'm pretending I'm fixing. So I added a new record, and it says current. So if I close that, come back here and hit refresh, then you're going to see that record that continues on. Okay, now we take some away because we don't need to show you all those records. You just need to, on this page, just see kind of a progression. So let's go ahead and close that. Now, if you want to refresh this page without scrolling up to the top and hitting the search button, if you right click somewhere down here, there's a refresh button. Also, your browser should have a refresh button. So I click this refresh button up here, shows me this little dialog screen. It's just telling you, hey, to refresh this, I got to resubmit the data. And that's the data would be your branch, your date range, stuff like that. So then once I resubmit that, then you can see that Bob is fixed. Okay, the next one's Jane Doe. This one should be very, very, very obvious. Look right here. There's a 0 home rate. That's why it's not getting anything. So to fix that one, again, click on her name. Make sure you're on the right record. She only has one placement cycle here. So let's hit that payment screen. And then here's that 0 record. It should not be 0. So I'm going to put in the rate it should be. Save the payment. Come back here. If we refresh this, you're going to see that rate now on the payment, on the complete history screen. And then again, if I refresh this, then you're going to see that she is now fixed too. So Jane Doe is now fixed. Then the last one I'm going to show you on this page before we go on to the next page is Milo. So Milo has 31 days of placement, 31 days of invoices, 31 days of level of care, but it only has 4 days of home payments. These home payments started on October 31st of 2018, and for some reason somebody put an end date of 10/5 of 2019. All right, so that's why it's only shown 4 days. So let's go ahead and click on Milo's name, get in the right payment cycle. And for this one, we're going to pretend that somebody started to do a rate change and they just never finished it. Okay, so uh, if that was the case, you're going to hit split. You're going to come in here. If that is indeed the day of the rate change, you're going to put ended due to rate change. Then this would start on 10/5 of 2019, and then this would be blank. Okay, and then you'd put in whatever that new rate is, and then you would hit save. Now I'm not going to do that because I don't want to enter a rate change on this particular kit. What I'm going to do is pretend that somebody just entered an end date there and they shouldn't have. So I'm going to blank that out. I'm going to hit save the payment record. Did you verify level of care? Yep, it's good. Come back, refresh this. It's going to look correct. Instead of ending on 10/5, it's going to be blank. Come back here and refresh this page. I'm not going to scroll all the way up there. I'm just going to come down here and hit refresh. And now you'll see Milo is now fixed. Okay, so that is the billing comparison page and finding errors. Now I have some other kids here that are errors. Brutus Piperman, he's erroring out because his rates are 0. That's because this is a per diem rate. This kid is a monthly rate kid. You don't get a daily per diem for Brutus. In this example, you get a monthly. Same way with Darcy and Tom. They're all three of those are monthly rate kids. Okay, and then you have totals at the bottom that you can look at if you want. So, Okay, so that's the billing comparison page. The next thing we want to look at is the agency rate breakdown. Now, make sure you do the billing comparison first. If you do that first before you get here, it's going to save you a little work. Okay, if there's errors you're finding over there, then get those cleaned up before you come here. Then it's going to save you a little bit of time. All right, so you're going to pick your branch or whatever setting you want there. Put in the month you're getting ready to invoice for. Now on this here, select this all in branch. Okay, if you don't, all right, if you leave it say any, here's what you get. So you get every payer listed and then all the different rates within those pairs. All right, if you click all in branch, then you just get this. It takes all that payer information out. Now, for this system I'm showing you, I only have in this column 6 legitimate rates that should show up. All right, I have zeros. Those 3 kids that were monthly kids, if I click on that 0, here's those 3 kids: Brutus, Tom, and uh, DRC, Darcy. But so those are 3 monthly rate kids. Again, this is looking at per diems. Okay, so that's the first legitimate rate. My second legitimate rate is $65 with a home payment of $34, which I have 7 kids at that level. So I can click on this and I can see who those kids are. Okay. Now, I don't know if you do that because these are good. This is a good thing. All right. Now, here's a problem. 75 is a legitimate invoice rate. 45 should be the home payment, but I have one that's sitting here with a home payment of 44 instead of 75. That was a data entry mistake. So if I click on that, it's going to show me the kid's name. If I click on the kid's name, come down into the right placement cycle, click that payment screen, and I can go fix that real fast. Okay, so now I can change that to what it should be. That was just somebody did a data entry error when they were putting in the placement and setting up the home payment. So now close that, close that. If I rerun this 7544 should go away. Okay. Okay, so now, so far I'm looking down in this report and these 3 things I looked at are all legitimate. Okay. Now, 8293 is not one of my rates. That's wrong. It should be 8294. So again, if I click on the 8293, it's going to show me the name. Click on the name. It's going to take me to the complete history screen. We take it as history screen just so you can study that before you go to this payment screen and make sure what you're getting ready to do is the right thing to do. So here's that 8293. That is wrong. I'm going to change it. I'm going to save the payment records. It's going to ask me to verify level of care. Come back here, close those. Now if I hit show rates, there, I fixed that 8293. Okay, and then the last 2 rate structures you see here are legitimate also. My 103 for invoice, 55 to home is legitimate. 105 for agency rate, 90 to home is legitimate. All right, so now I'm good. I have that. I'm sure that all the kids that I'm invoicing for, all 10, 14, 24, 36 kids that I'm going to invoice for in the month of October have the right rate structures. Okay. So it's a great, this is one of the best, quick, easiest tools to use on our system in regards to rates that will find data entry errors for you. And also, it does go a little further. It can actually show you for this rate structure, here's the amount of money you're going to be invoicing for that rate structure. Here's how much of it's going to home payments, and here's what's left over for the your admin part. So it breaks that down on every one. Now, something else. A kid could be in 2 of these. So let's say Tom Cruiser started the month of October at 65.34, but October 17th he had a rate change from 75 to 45. So Tom will be here and he will also be in here, right? So just because this says 36 doesn't mean that's the number of kids you had that month. These are the amount of kids at these structures. Okay, so a kid could be in multiple structures if they had rate changes. All right, but this is really, did we built this report to verify this part right here, these 2 things. And then once we had it built, this the original version of this only showed you these and the child counts. All right, and we had that running and people were using it great. And we thought, you know what? We can give them some more great information if we just add these other columns here. So these other columns came later on this report. But it's a great report to verify data. Okay. So and then the last thing for this video I want to show you, I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. Now these are all other great things. I've done webinars on all this stuff. Um, Feel free to play around with them. I'm going to do more webinars just like this one in regards to financial tools, and I'll cover some of these other ones in those other webinars. But I just wanted to focus on these three presently. So the next thing we want to look at, so you're cruising along the month of October and you have special payments, right? If you're using our system to track special payments and you want to review those before you run your end of month reports, then put in your pay period here. Right? If you want to further filter it by any of these means, you can. If you want to put these in a spreadsheet, if you like looking at this information in a spreadsheet more than on the screen, click that button, hit show payments. It's going to go find all the special payments that have a payment date in between, on or in between these two dates. Okay, and then you can review this right from the screen, or again, if you like this information in a spreadsheet, click that CSV button. It'll open up and you can review those special payments in a spreadsheet. So those are special payments dumped right into the spreadsheet. Okay, so that is the topics that I wanted to cover today. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you find it beneficial, and if you have any feedback, please send it to me. Thank you.